Hello folks, welcome back ladies and gents. I am the Bibliotech Nerd, and this is the show where we normally review comic books and graphic novels. But in today's video we're gonna do something special and slightly different from the usual spiel. As requested by a close friend of mine, I shall be looking at a few IndieGoGo comic book projects. Campaigns that have either been created by individual artists, or possibly a small group of creators that have combined together. Now this is the first time that I will do such a video, so there might be some trial and error on how I approach the various projects, and to limit this fact I have decided to only do a few of the campaigns that were given to me on the list. So the way that I'm going to approach them is going to be quite simple. I'm going to take a short look at their elevator pitch / business hook, judge the art that is provided, examine the various perks that are on offer, and of course top it all off with a short overview of the whole project. Now let's get right into it, and for the very first one we are going big. That's right, we are going big with the one and only EarthWorm Jim by Doug Tenenbaum. So this was quite unexpected when I first saw it, and it was a delight to see it on the list. EarthWorm Jim could have easily become a character that would have been lost to the flow of time, but now not only does it get a chance at rebirth, the drive and determination of its original creator Doug Tenenbaum could once again bring it into the spotlight of nerd culture. But bringing it back to the actual project itself, we are given a small and short hook in the overview of the project, a combination of the creation origins of the character, and a very limited blurb or pitch for the actual story. Out of the whole project, this is probably the only big oopsie that is kind of noticeable. The two sentences that are on the character history and the character creation are a perfect addition to use what has already been established to hook people in, but the blurb on the story itself is definitely a bit lackluster. We always have to remember that there's a potential customer out there who simply doesn't know what your project is about. And to ensure that we hook as many people as possible, you've got to remember and keep in mind that potentially this is someone's first interaction with your product. So my advice to anyone who's either thinking of starting a project or potentially has a few under their belt, don't forget that important elevator pitch. But of course, looking at the project as an overall, this isn't really that big of an oopsie considering the pre-established character that is beloved by the fans, and the plethora of artwork and information that is added throughout. Now, speaking of artwork, the YouTube video that is attached for the project definitely gives a better business hook or elevator pitch for the whole thing. It's short, sweet, and definitely builds excitement for this project. Regarding the actual samples that are provided for the project, they are really well drawn and they definitely hit that nostalgia factor from the old video game. The color brightness on the sample pages that are given and the art style that is used is definitely a welcome and fresh sight compared to all the superhero comic books that I've been reading lately. I'm definitely a fan of how Peter Puppy is drawn and his insatiable appetite. So I'm definitely giving the artwork a big thumbs up for me, and I think there's a nice variety provided within the project that should intrigue and hook the average Joe that is looking at it. The only small nitpick that I really have is more towards the stretch goals, the yellow little announcement posters. They probably could have been designed a little more aesthetically pleasing, but considering that it's not going to be part of the actual book, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But moving on to the perks that are provided within this project, I have to say there's a nice wide variety of perks to choose from that would suit any budget. I can see that a lot of work has been put into this project to make sure that it provides the backers with as much content as possible. And from what it seems, it definitely clicks with the audience, considering that there are already 5,800 plus backers. Looking at this project from an overall perspective, it is definitely a positive in my eyes. I definitely think that it has the potential and the possibility of expanding beyond this project and develop a franchise that could expand into a wide variety of entertainment mediums. So, if you're an EarthWorm Jim fan, I definitely recommend keeping an eye on this project and see where it all goes. Now, let's move on to the second project that we will be reviewing, and that is, of course, Iron Skies. Written by Christopher Rue, it is a steampunk and sorcery comic that follows the crew of the Fallen Hope and their adventures. Now, this project does seem to have already wrapped up, and has moved over into what I believe it's called direct demand. So we are a tiny bit late to this specific party. But nonetheless, I still wanted to review this comic as it has a very interesting premise. Of course, I could also be a tiny bit biased since I enjoy magic and sorcery in my entertainment. Now this doesn't mean that it'll be spared any criticism during this review, and we shall be starting with a tiny bit of criticism regarding the elevator pitch / business hook. Unfortunately, there's very little text in the overview that is used as a blurb for this story. It is pretty cool of the fact that it's part of a 12-issue run. It's definitely a good hook for a customer to see that they can properly invest into such a project, that it won't be a once-off. I just think that it needs that extra line or two in the overview to ensure that people know the gist of the story that will be in the book itself. There is of course also a video attached to the project for the pitch. If I'm being honest, this doesn't really add that much extra as a business hook. I would definitely recommend that you have some sort of face-to-face intro, kind of giving your own spiel and explaining the comic in your own words. Personally, I don't believe that the fast-paced music and the shaky camera work complements the beautiful art that we see down below. I highly recommend that on the second book that comes out, you definitely work on the YouTube videos. But also on a side note, why isn't there a YouTube channel linked in the information above? Definitely get on that and make a channel to ensure that you have some sort of vlog of the whole creative process behind this comic, because honestly it has some amazing art. We're not given much, but what we do have, in my opinion, is spectacular. And creating a YouTube channel for this very process, I think would only increase your audience. Now, moving on to the perk system for this project. From what I can see, this is the first campaign. And as such, I think that it checks all the right boxes. No overly complex and expensive tiers. They're simple, straightforward, and surprisingly affordable. So I'm definitely going to give it a big thumbs up in this department. So as a quick overview of the project as a whole, and I will also be taking into consideration the fact that from what I can see, this is the very first project of Christopher Rue. Overall, I think it's a positive campaign and it's a step in the right direction. It does, after all, seem to have got its backing with 126% over, which is an extremely good thing considering we'll now be able to see where this all leads with the second project. Now we're going to move on to the last project that I'm going to review. And the reason that I'm going to keep this video to just 3 projects is that it's the first time that I'm doing this format, so I kind of want to test things out before I really commit to, say, longer videos. Now with that being said, the last project that I'm going to review is Jawbreakers God-King. The culmination of the epic GodKing storyline that began in Jawbreakers Lost Souls. Written by Richard Meyer, also a YouTube channel, I believe it's called Comics Matter with your boy Zach. This campaign literally came out as I was doing this video, so it's perfect timing for me. Saves me the time from having to choose a third project, and considering it's already skyrocketing popularity, I thought I might as well just review this one. Now, as we can see from the description, it is a follow-up to a previous graphic novel that was released, but quickly checking the FAQ, we see that that's not a requirement to read, so we can just hop into this comic straight away. And just like the previous two, we are going to look at the pitch and how it hooks us. In all honesty, it's actually not a bad pitch. It provides us with a basic premise of what the story will actually be, but more importantly, adding the small picture between the text, not only does it sweeten the pitch, but it forces the user to go down the page into the campaign and more likely be sold on the whole idea. So in my eyes, the pitch in the overview is definitely a positive in my books. The video, on the other hand, that is attached to the project, well, it may work for pre-established fans and subscribers of the YouTube channel. For new and potential customers, I don't really think that it will properly hold their attention or inspire them to invest in the campaign itself. I definitely think that a 30-second to about a 1-minute video would be perfect to insert right here. Just a small little video that stays focused on advertising the project and doesn't really get sidetracked. Maybe even in the same format as the advertisements before YouTube clips, because I think that could help bring the project to a wider audience. Now, moving on to the art side of the project. From what it seems and what I understand, it looks like there will likely be 3 stories within the book, and we are given some small teasers from each one of them. And in all fairness, the quality of the artwork is definitely top tier. Specifically, the Devil Dog origin piece, for me, it absolutely looks savage. It actually reminds me of the Call of Duty mission. I think it's in Modern Warfare 2, where you're Soap and you're with Captain Price and you're in the Afghanistan airport. From what I remember, I think you're trying to escape both the Russian and the American forces on the ground. Either way, I think it's a pretty epic piece. Definitely a picture that can be cut and probably photoshopped into other cool scenarios. But in short, the art for the campaign gets 2 thumbs up from me. Now, moving over to the perks for this project. So far, there's only 3 that kind of hit the base requirement. And considering that it's already hit its goal, I am curious to see if any more will be added in the future, or if any stretch goals will be created for the project. But if we look at this project as an overall piece, it's definitely in a positive situation. In all honesty, I'm actually tempted to get the combo pack for this. I think that it would be a pretty good video to make on reviewing those 2. But I think I'm gonna leave it there when it comes to reviewing these projects and the overall video. So do let me know down below what you think about this video. It's my first time reviewing comic books on IndieGoGo, so I would definitely appreciate any sort of tips that I could use to improve future endeavors. And of course, if you didn't like it, do also let me know, because any sort of feedback is welcome. Maybe in a month or 2, I'll see what other new projects arise on IndieGoGo. It's definitely a cool thing to see that independent creators have decided to fund their own projects. Competition in the comic book industry is a welcome sight, as it will only help improve quality for everyone else. But otherwise, don't forget to drop a like on this video, possibly subscribe, and stay tuned, as this is an exciting month, as I intend to possibly broaden the range of videos that I will be uploading. So till next time folks, I am the Bibliotech Nerd.